During this video, we will discuss the Medicare Savings Program, also known as MSP. The Medicare Savings Program has 3 different levels of benefits. The first benefit is for individuals making less than 100% of the federal poverty level. This benefit is called QMB, or Qualified Medicare Beneficiary. This is the most comprehensive benefit of the Medicare Savings Program. Remember that the individual's Part B Medicare premium will be paid for by the state. They also have their deductibles, co-pays, and co-insurance paid for them. So a QMB individual would not have any out-of-pocket costs when they visit the doctor. The individual would also automatically get extra help benefits, as is the case of all 3 levels of Medicare Savings Program. The next level of Medicare Savings Program is SLMB, or Specified Low-Income Medicare Beneficiary. This is for individuals between 100 and 120% of the federal poverty level. For individuals with SLMB, the state pays for the Part B Medicare premium. SLMB can be retroactive up to 3 months, so that's a benefit for the individual. QMB cannot be retroactive as it is based on the date of application. The third level of the Medicare Savings Program is Qualified Individual, or QI1. This is for individuals between 120 and 135% of the federal poverty level. Again, this just pays for the Part B Medicare premium. QI1 can also be retroactive up to 3 months, but it is within the federal fiscal year that it can be retroactive. If funds are exhausted for the Qualified Individual Program, they can't accept any more people to that program. So there is a bit of limitation with the QI1 level of coverage. In addition to income, there are also resource limits for the Medicare Savings Program. We will provide you with the income and resource amounts as they do change annually. So let's go over the Medicare Savings Program application. The first page has a lot of basic information about the client. You would fill out the first name, last name, middle initial, sex, street address, mailing address, social security number, county of residence, or the place they live. This section has been pre-filled, so you will only have to put in your name regarding who helps fill out this application. That should make it a little quicker. You more than likely do not want the individual to check the box to appoint you to be the authorized representative. They can sign this front page. They don't have to, but you don't want them to check this box because you would be their authorized representative to apply. They should probably be their own or have another individual be their authorized representative. The second page describes the client's household and everyone who lives under the same roof. Start with the client and fill out that information listing their last name, first name, middle initial, date of birth, sex, social security number, race, and answer with a check mark yes or no for Hispanic Latino and for U.S. citizen. Use the codes listed below this section to answer the race question. List anyone else living in the home and answer the same questions for each individual. The next section is, do you or your spouse have health insurance? You would put an X in the Medicare Part A box and an X either in self or spouse or both, whichever you are answering the question for. You would list the claim number and effective date of their Part A. This information is on their Medicare card. You would do the same thing for Medicare Part B. Put an X in Medicare Part B box and an X either in self or spouse or both, whichever you are answering. You also list the effective date of their Part B, which is also on their Medicare card. If the client or spouse has Medicare Part C, which is Medicare Advantage Plan, or Medicare Part D, You put an X in those boxes and list the claim number for the client, the spouse, or both. The client or spouse will have a separate insurance card for Medicare Part C and Medicare Part D. If the client and/or spouse has a Medicare Supplement insurance policy, also known as Medigap, you will list the claim number and effective date if it is listed on the card, along with the name and address of the company in the boxes provided. The next page is your income and the income of your spouse if married. This section breaks income down into unearned income and earned income. Most people will have predominantly unearned income. Examples of unearned income is Social Security, veterans benefits, pensions, support, alimony, rental income, railroad retirement, payments from annuities, or investments. List whether the unearned income is for the client or for their spouse, the type of income, the gross amount before deductions, and how often they receive this payment. We always use gross amount and how often they receive it. Typically, the amount is monthly, but it may not be. Next is earned income. The only real difference between what you list for unearned and earned income is the name and address of the employer. It's required in the earned income section. If they do not receive earned income, for instance, then you can go ahead and put NA or put a slash through it. An empty or blank information square can be perceived by the processing organization that there should be something there, but you just don't know the facts. If there is nothing to list, it is always good to mark it out or just note NA in that section. The next section is, do you or your spouse have any resources? Examples of resources include bank accounts, stocks and bonds, annuities, vehicles, and trusts. You need to list the type of resource, the balance and value, who the resource is held by, like what bank the resource is through, the owners of the account, and the account number. The next section is resources also include life insurance policies or prepaid funeral arrangements made for you or your spouse. If the applicant has life insurance policies or prepaid funeral arrangements, that information goes in this section. Clients often have a hard time getting the cash surrender value of the policy, and that is an issue that we receive application denials for frequently. The client will need to call the insurance plan provider and get a statement of the cash surrender value. That is only if they have a whole life insurance policy. If they have a term policy, it won't have a cash surrender value. It will just have face value. The cash surrender value would be 0 for whole life insurance. If the client or spouse owns the home where they live, they need to put an X in the box, circle the word yes, and list the address and current PVA value. If the client or spouse own property that they do not live in, they will need to put an X in that box, circle the word yes, and list the address and current PVA for that property. The next page of the application is the Statement of Understanding and Agreement. The client and spouse would need to read and agree to before signing. The only time you need a witness is if they sign with an X or another non-signature mark. This is a pretty quick application to get clients a pretty significant benefit. We do like to provide the client with an instruction sheet and a receipt to get signed by the DCBS employee that accepted the application. This is what the instructions for your Medicare Savings Program application looks like. Fill in the blank with the date you completed the application. There is a brief overview of the MSP benefit, and then we have emphasized that they must review and finish completing the application. It is their responsibility to review the application and make sure it is correct before they submit it. We do suggest, if you are not with the individual at the time, or even if you are and they are taking it with them to complete later, to flag areas that need attention, including where they should sign. The next part you would complete for the client is the county and address of the Department of Community-Based Services, or DCBS office, where they will submit the application. Listed next is the required supporting documents needed to accompany the application. So they will need to make a copy of their Medicare card, a copy of their driver's license, a copy of their Social Security card, and so on. If copies are not included with the application, it will not be processed appropriately, and they will get a request for information from the DCBS office, which would hold up their processing time. Once that has all been submitted, DCBS has 30 days to process the application. We suggest that they call us back just to make sure that it was the appropriate response from DCBS, and if there are any other benefits that they should have applied for that we can assist them with. The next page is the receipt of the MSP application. This is what we ask the client to send or take to the DCBS office to complete. This is proof that the client will have that the MSP application was submitted. It has the name of the employee who accepted the application, the county, the name of applicant, the date, the time it was accepted, and a signature for the DCBS employee to sign, along with showing what documents were submitted. There should be no question as to whether all the information has been submitted if the DCBS worker signs and marks what information was included. So if the client ever needs proof that the application and documents were submitted, this will be proof of what the client had originally submitted. This receipt should be retained by our clients. If the DCBS employee refuses to sign the receipt, the client can request the employee to stamp the form. The client should obtain the employee's name and note that information on the receipt. So that's it for the Medicare Savings Program. This is a fairly simple application that can help people significantly. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our number is 1-866-516-3051.